And I'm so grateful for you all being here, braving the 9 a.m. shift on Sunday. I think it will be worth your while, I hope so. So while we're all getting settled in, let me say a couple of things about what we're going to do today, and then I'm going to talk just for a few moments, because probably most of you don't know me. Is there, oh, aren't you so sweet? Thank you, that's so lovely. And it smells really good. Oh, wow, it's lovely. So, yes, let me say a little bit about what we'll do today, and then I'll give you just a teeny bit about my background. Does anyone in here, how many people are completely unfamiliar with me? Probably most of you. Okay. All right, so first a little about the channeling. The way that I channel, I'm not a full trance channel. I have found that in my learnings, which I've been doing this kind of work for over 20 years now, well over 20 years, in my learnings in my earlier stages of my awakening journey, a lot of beings would approach me and ask me if I would allow them to channel through me. And I didn't know who they all were, and I could tell some of them didn't feel so good to me, and I was just like, no, just somehow I knew, like, I don't want anyone coming through my body. And so I went for like maybe the first 15 or so years just not allowing channeling, even though I knew I could. And eventually what happened was I started to realize that through my own evolutionary process that I could vibrate in harmony with multi-dimensional frequencies. Does this make sense to you guys? And that I was actually part of beings, collectives, at those frequency levels. Because in reality, we all exist in all dimensions of reality. You just don't exist as your current personality self at all those dimensions of reality. So what I learned was that I could merge with my collective, as a collective, at those different frequencies. And that my consciousness, not as an identity known as Lori Ann Spagna, but as an identity, as a collective of whomever is speaking, is at one with them. It's part of that collective. Does this make sense? So the channeling that I do is a merging, and I happen to believe that this is a more progressive way of channeling for us in the new paradigm, because we are in that I do not give up my free will consent. I do not alienate my body and give someone consent to take over my body. I'm 100% still in control, and I have the ability to say yes or no, because I've had lots of beings, all kinds of beings come in. So when I do the channeling, it's not just any one being. I can connect with just about any form of consciousness. It could be a weather storm, it could be a planetary body, Mother Earth, Solaris the sun, it could be Angelics, angel gods, it could be the crystalline realm, it could be your guides. A lot of times people's guides and guardians come through, beings from non-physical, beings who have crossed over. A lot of animal consciousness I connect with. Ascended masters, of course, come through, and star being races. It's literally unlimited. I mean, just this week since I got here was the first time I had 2-hour channeling with beings from the inner earth, many of whom we know as Telosians. And I had never connected, and I actually didn't previous to this totally. I wasn't 100% in my personal identity sure yet that they were real, or if they were just reflections of our consciousness, but no, they're real. Very real. Anyway, so we will see what comes through for our group. And there will be many. So I want for all of you, we'll start with the prayer, but when we get into the prayer, that you're setting your intention that we as a group will receive the maximum benefits, which are for our most benevolent best, and that what's meant to come through will come through. And I'll say it in a prayer, because we will start with a prayer. With that, how does that sound to everybody?
Yes. Great.
And the only thing I ask is that once I get into the challenge, I am pretty altered, you know. Even though I can pop back and forth, like into my full consciousness, I'm still altered state. So it really will help me if there's no phones out. And once I go into the least amount of like scuttling about, because it's distracting, I really have to be aligned with this other frequency, yeah? So if you could turn your phones off, or at least to a hum. All right, with that, I'll say just a few things about myself, since a lot of you don't know me. I mentioned this already. My name is Lori Ann Spagna. I've been doing this work for more than 20 years now. I started because I was always into this stuff, you know, I was always into the woo-woo. But back then it was like tarot cards and stuff, and I was 20 years in corporate America doing the slave job for, you know, working slave hamster wheel of life. And what ended up happening was my brother died of a drug overdose. I started getting very clear messages from him. It took me about a year to unpack that and to realize like I wasn't making that up, I wasn't faking it, it was real, it was really my brother. And that just completely shifted my trajectory because he was my divine wake-up call in a sense. And I ended up quitting my 6-figure job that was, in those 20 years, like I was smoking cigarettes, like massive alcohol, massive pharmaceutical drugs from well-meaning doctors, 6 figures in debt. I mean, it was like credit card debt. It's like just a mess. I was overweight, my hair was falling out, my thyroid was off, I was having all kinds of heart palpitations. And after I quit my job, I became a dog trainer. I started hearing the dogs, and they would say, "We're going to teach you." That's really where it started. The animals started to communicate with me. My husband divorced me, and I ended up moving to Maui. I spent 2 years there. I got into all the healing arts, all kinds of healing arts, the records, Akashic records, you know, Reiki master. It just opened me up. I had a first contact experience while living in Maui. Activated all my, what I call dormant DNA. And now that's a huge part of what I do. I help others activate their dormant DNA. And I do transmissions and healings, activations to align people with their multidimensional self as we're, as a planet, evolving. But channeling is just one aspect of what I do to bring forward information and consciousness from the unknown realms to help us navigate our physical time here. So anyway, but within those 2 years that I lived on Maui, the whole thing changed, right? I've never smoked another cigarette, never drank another beer practically. I mean, once in a while, almost never. Have never since taken any pharmaceutical drugs. That was over 20 years ago. No over-the-counter drugs, nothing that is made by big pharma. I have not gotten sick at all, physically unhealthy or sick. I've been healthier and better than ever. And of course, I healed my thyroid on my own and healed the heart palpitations. That was a tough one. So the whole thing changed, you know, just the whole life trajectory changed because this is true for all of us. When we get aligned with our most benevolent best for our life journey, and when we get aligned with our own divinity, other than what we're here to clean up, which that's the tough stuff, right? What we're here to clean up either for our ancestral line or the collective, everything else does start to go much more smooth. We still have our challenges, right? But that's for our evolution. But everything gets aligned, right? Makes sense, right? All right, so all good? Everyone good? Okay. So let's start with the prayer. While I say the prayer, if you could please, oh, you know what? Maybe I should say this before. Where did I put that clipboard? Oh, okay, so my friend Sherry also here is going to pass around a clipboard for your name and email address. You don't have to do it right away, but let's, more towards the end actually, because you'll probably want to stay in touch and after you see this. But if you'd like, I'll send you DNA activation. You can, because we're not going to have time to do that today, and that's one of my fave things. And for the animal lovers, I'll send you a class on connecting telepathically with your animals and learning how to do that. Really good content, not fluff. And then a whole class on healing and another class on Starseed and the Indigo family races, if you want to know about that. All right, good. So we're going to go for the prayer. And as I'm saying the prayer, if you in the audience can get yourself into a state of receivership. So what that means is just some long, slow, deep breaths, relaxing. And you're getting yourself into kind of an alpha brainwave through the breath. So breathing in love, the energy and the frequency of love, and connecting with the breath. We're not going to a deep meditation, just relaxing so we all can receive. And through your breath of love or peace or any high frequency vibe that you want to breathe in, connect with it and feel it as it comes into your nose or through the belly or through the heart and fills up the whole body. and putting any extra attention on any area of your body that needs some extra love or peace. And while you're breathing that, mentally affirm that you choose, desire, and intend to receive the maximum benefits, which are for the most benevolent best of our group. And I'll just go into the prayer as you're doing that. Calling in divine source, creator God, the one true God of light of creation, absolute, pure, undiluted, omnipresent, omnipotent love. Absolute, pure, omnipresent, omnipotent wisdom. Absolute, pure, omnipresent, omnipotent consciousness. Absolute, pure, omnipresent, omnipotent peace. To oversee and orchestrate all activities during our time together today, and to ensure that all that comes through, all that is said, all that is done, all that is provided here, everything spoken is of your will, and that is 100% aligned with the one true God of light of creation, and our roles as a sub-collective here in God's plan of light of creation. Ensure that any and all cords and connections which are not of the light, which do not serve the light, are immediately severed and not allowed or permitted during our time together. Allow only that which is of the light, and 100% positively uplifting for all, 100% aligned with the divine, with zero harm to anyone or anything and zero debt, especially zero karmic debt to anyone. We give thanks that this is being done now, and that your divine will oversees and orchestrates it all. And now we benevolently and lovingly, under our unanimous intention that we have stated here, call forward, respectfully request and call forward the most benevolent beings of love would like to come forward with us and join and share with us today, including the Angelics and the angelic realm, archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Azrael, Phaneal, Chandra, Samuel, Zadkiel, Metatron, Jeremiah, Sandalphon, and angel gods as well, and ascended masters and divine goddesses. We welcome you into our circle. We are so grateful for you. And we also call forward, of course, Telosians and beings of the inner earth who are of the light and service to the light, and willing to come forward and welcome you into our circle. We call forward the crystalline realm and the crystalline consciousness and the Christ consciousness. And we welcome you into our circle. We gratefully receive you. We call forward the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, and the mineral kingdom. And we call forward, of course, the ascended masters, we said that, divine goddesses, and as well, our star family races who love and adore us, and whose only desire and intention in joining with us is to align with ours in service and support of humanity's evolution and this particular group's ascension journey. We give loving thanks now that this is done. Once again, that what's meant to be said, be said. That what's meant to be heard, be heard. That what's meant to be known, be known. And that what's meant to be done, be done. And let it all be done according to God's will and plan for us in our role in life of creation. We give thanks now that this is so, and so it is. Thank you, thank you. Good. And so we'll begin with the collective of Arcturians, 12-dimensional Arcturians. And the office also of the Earth Logos. Two groups separate. Which are a group of ascended masters guiding Earth's ascension journey. First, the Arcturians. Greetings, beloveds, blessings to all beings here. It is our great pleasure, our great honor to join with you today. Many of you have questions. You have questions about your current state of humanity. You have questions about your own journey. You have considerations to make, thoughts and awareness as you are you are passing through. At this time, it is most relevant for you to realize that for your own personal ascension, as you progress on your journey, that the will and desire that you align with shall always be guiding you and leading you when the will and the desire is towards your own divinity, towards your own joy, towards your own happiness, your wellness. This is not new necessarily towards you, for you. However, it must be reaffirmed at this time, since so many are confused, so many are uncertain, so many are witnessing the external reality to be revealing to them undesirable situations and circumstances. We would like to remind you, as this has been said before and shall be said again, as you align and attune yourself to frequencies of love, of light, of divinity, of the God within you that is a creator being representing source, creator on this planetary body. As you align and attune yourself, you will come to know more and more. And this is an absolute truth, that there is nothing in the external reality which can have dominion or control over you without your conscious or unconscious consent. Therefore, what this really entails knowing is that you are a representation of the divine, the flow and consciousness, the will of the divine. And what you will be, whether you are aware or unaware of your creative force, of your ability to create your reality, of your ability to have 100% power and control over your own personal experiences and trajectories. You are coming into that knowing. And so therefore, with respect to your external world, and the things that are playing out, which are mostly not to your liking, know this: they have no power or dominion over you. And this includes, even for the most part, your physical dis-eases and health concerns, and even issues like car accidents, which some of you are considering at this time. Even issues like situations and trajectories with external authorities and other figures who seem to present that they have power or dominion over you. This is untrue. They are reflections of your state of being. They are reflections of the frequencies and vibrations, the thoughts and the beliefs and the opinions that you hold within you. And so as you change these to align with your own divinity, you will come to know and find that they have no power or dominion over you. And that your great power will come from your alignment with your own personal divinity, with your own personal sovereign free will, with your own choice to align with love, with consciousness, with the will of the divine that wills itself through you, and to continually awaken and activate the light that is within you, the light that has been dormant or repressed within you, the light that has been unconscious, not necessarily entirely within you. And as you awaken this, and as you align yourself and activate this part of your dormancy, you shall come to know it too. The only fear on earth is the belief system that something outside of you has control or dominion over you. And this is what we are wishing to change, because all of you are awakening to your abilities to be creators of your reality. And as all beings awaken to their creative potential, to the true essence of your ability to create reality on earth, as all beings are willing to look within yourselves to seek the shadow that is in you, the shadow of fear, oppression, repression, and transmute that into your ability to create love and joy and betterment and healing and prosperity and abundance, you'll come to see that your new earth is birthing from you, from within you. One more piece about this, and that is to say that while each and every one of you is awakening to this on your own personal journey, you must also remember that from a non-physical reality, What you are at the very essence of you is awareness. And it is your awareness and what you put your attention on that will ultimately reveal to you who you are moment to moment. And so if what you are not liking, what you are seeing or witnessing is something you are not liking or desiring, the change of your awareness to a new perspective, to an advanced or progressed perspective, to a new frequency, will reveal something else through your awareness that is more pleasurable. And this brings us back to where we began, which is that as you allow yourself to enjoy your life, to enjoy your experience, more of that will be revealed to you. It is our great pleasure and honor to be with you today. There will be opportunity for questions, and it will be our great pleasure to address those as well. Okay, there's multiple things now, and so I'm just asking, because we were originally going to, but I'm hearing go first to, I mean, there's so many now. We have the Elohim, Yeshua, Jesus, Sananda, the host, Melchizedek, who first? Whenever there's lots of beings here, lots of beings come forward. And they're all very patient, you see. So they just like, I have to wait until one steps forward. So we'll go to the Elohim. So we would like to share with you as well on this blessed day our great gratitude for being called forward, our great gratitude for the opportunity to share with you. We are well aware that many on your physical earthly plane who are more scientific oriented, who are more research oriented, who are still more analytical in their left brain orientation, may still find this type of information coming through to be quite absurd. And yet we say to you that never before on earth have so many beings been able to pierce what is called or known as the veils, to connect with realms beyond your third dimensional reality of physicality, of sound, light. And so now, because so many more of you are, we are most explicitly overwhelmed with joy to share with you, to assist you, and to participate in your evolution. It is our greatest desire to witness all beings awakening and to reclaiming your great gifts, your great abilities and talents. For there is not one of you here, not one of you, who has not been chosen by your own selves, by the divine, so to speak, by the higher realms, to be some form of messenger of light, some form of bringer of light, some form of transmitter of light, some form of being designed to share light, to share love, to share expanded consciousness. And that is why you are here. You see, those who are still more focused on their left analytical brain are the ones who are holding on, unconsciously of course, to the old states of reality. And because they have a free will, and because so many of you who are of the light have chosen not to leave your beloved brothers and sisters behind, have chosen to extend the time for the awakening of humanity. And this is why so many of you ask, when will it happen? When will the goodness start? And the reason it is lagging is because so many of you did not want to leave your brothers and sisters behind. You wanted to continue to give them chance after chance to awaken, and yet they anchor into their old sets of beliefs and knowings through their left analytical brains,
and oftentimes playing out their old patterns over and over again and repeating their so-called self-detrimental ways of operating, including some of the most basic habits. And these things lag us. They lag Earth. They lag the ascension process. Nonetheless, they are not wrong or judged or frowned upon. For, of course, as you know, there is free will. And so in order to honor the free will of all, the choice has been made to slow, so to speak, or lag, so to speak, the ascension journey for the collective, as beings are, in a sense, waiting for those to catch up who are still lagging. There's no wrongness in this. Let me state this again. It is the choice that humanity as a collective or a collection of beings have made, you among them. And so this is just simply an offering to help you understand why it is not happening at the expediency which you would like it to happen at. Nonetheless, there is no waiting in this game. This has been said before, and it is important to say again. There is no need for you as a personal individuation to wait. For you as a personal identity, as an individuation, can, as it has already been said, awaken to your own divine path, the glory of you, and express your glory and allow your gloriousness to be revealed to you in your own unique holographic experience on a daily basis, regardless of what the collection of humanity is choosing. And this is why so many among you are witnessing the two parallel coexisting states of reality, which is very real. For these two parallel coexisting states of reality exist at two different frequencies and bandwidths of consciousness, which is to say that those among you who are so-called in your conscious awareness ascending into a fifth dimensional frequency, this is just languaging, by the way. It is irrelevant to say fifth dimensional. It is just a languaging you understand. You are individually and sub-collectively ascending, and so your frequency bandwidth is expanding into more conscious awareness and higher, lighter, purer bandwidths of love, of peace, of joy, of willingness, of openness, of surrender, of allowance, of all of these new frequency bandwidths that are much more desirable. In parallel, in a coexisting reality, are beings who have not yet, who have lagged, who have not awakened their heart center to realize that they can communicate in new ways, connect in new ways, expand in new ways. They have not necessarily, as we've already discussed, changed their ways. And so their parallel reality is still vibrating in harmony with lower or impure frequencies that are still more fear and anxiety based. You are well aware, and let this be known. You are but like an angel, peering in to this other reality, assisting those however you may, however you are meant to, however is divinely aligned or right for you, assisting them to come through that window or cross that bridge or make new choices. But you are not in the same frequency bandwidth, and this is important to know. And why? Because in this frequency bandwidth, there are activities you are just simply not enjoying any longer, and you no longer have to participate in them. When you recognize the higher truth, that you are in a new frequency bandwidth, and that frequency bandwidth feels good, and this frequency bandwidth does not. And when you realize that you are simply not feeling good, your job is to resolve whatever feels unresolved for you in not feeling good, so that you can realign yourself with the true frequency bandwidth of where you now are residing more and more, and to continually remember that there is just two parallel realities coexisting for some time until these merge once again, because those who are lagging will eventually make choice that shifts their time-space reality to align with the ascending journey. We hope this has been helpful to you, and it is our great pleasure and honor to contribute at this time. We're coming back to the office of the logos. Many of you are unaware of the office of the earth. Logos. We are a group and a collective of ascended masters. Some of us you may know and others you may not. Our job is to steer and facilitate with the Earth's ascension journey. We have essentially no other primary directive. That is our primary directive. And so in all that we do, we are working with the forces of light, including the one you refer to as God or your source or your spirit, your one spirit, to guide Earth on its ascension journey. Our office and our missions are rarely known to humanity. However, at this time, we are beginning to become more vocal in sharing with you, since our mission is to guide in harmony with the will of the beings who live here, and also to focus on the will of Earth Gaia herself, Gaia Sophia, and also on the will of the divine, and to coordinate and collaborate and ensure that all that happens is aligned and accorded. And in so doing, we would like to reassure you and to reaffirm to you that all is well, and that those activities which play out on Earth are designed primarily to assist humanity in resolving unresolved issues, and also to refocus them on what is truly important, as all beings are going through an awakening journey, regardless of whether or not they are conscious of it. And so be aware and know that, as many of you do, nothing can truly happen that is an accident at this time. Nothing so dark can happen unless beings are permitting it and allowing it and choosing it. But ultimately, Earth herself has chosen. Humanity has chosen. The divine has chosen. And so we have been assigned here, in a sense, to ensure that this is done in the most appropriate way for all beings. And we are mostly here simply to allow you to know of us and to provide you with a certain kind of affirmation that all is well. And for that we are grateful. We are grateful that we have been provided this opportunity to share. We give thanks. Okay, good. So we're going to pause. You are welcome to ask some questions. Now, the only thing about questions, be clear, it must serve the collective when I'm here in a private session. So if you can ask something that's relevant for our group or our whole humanity, something that everyone can benefit from. Do you want to?
Can you tell me the name of who you just channeled again?
The Office of the Earth's Logos.
Office of the Earth's Logos.
Yes.
I'm taking notes and I didn't catch that, so thank you.
They're I think they said it.
Yes.
I can't hear the question, so if you could repeat them.
She asked who was just channeled. And that was the Office of the Earth's Logos. Yes, in
Yeah,
the
my
back.
question is, they said that they're here to assist in the most appropriate means or whatever. What is that? Can you explain that to me? How would they most appropriately do so?
The question is, it was said that they're here to steer or help in the most appropriate means possible, and what does that mean? So let's go back to the Office of the Earth's Logos and inquire again. Yes, what is most appropriate? Thank you for your question. What this is that we must coordinate with multiple factors which have been set in place. First and foremost, you are all here in this physical reality being guided, or rather, that is the incorrect terminology, you are being governed by laws of the universe. These are God's laws set in place for the whole of creation, and they exist whether or not you are aware of them. We must constantly and continuously operate in coordination with them, for they are governing your reality. In addition, we must operate constantly in coordination with the will of Earth herself. For she is a living being who has made a choice, and it is her desire to heal and resolve all of the physical earthly inconsistencies, incongruencies, which have caused her such massive pain and destruction, which you are witnessing much of it. In addition, we must collaborate with the conscious consent of all individual beings. This may seem absurd or bizarre to you, but every one of you, every being walking, is a reflection of the will of the divine, as you know, and therefore your desires and intentions, both conscious and unconscious, must be taken into account, for again, your free will choices matter. And this includes those beings who you may consider to be not of the light, for they are beings walking this earth. And overall, we must also consider, overall, above all, the divine will. For here is where the old reality is quite different from your new paradigm of reality that you are evolving into, and that is to say that in your old paradigm of reality, the will of the divine was your will. All beings had, we would say, unleashed ability to will free, to freely will whatever they willed, be it dark, be it light, whatever it might have been. But in this new paradigm, that is humanity's evolution, there is a divine will playing here, overseeing and orchestrating. And so these factors, all of which we've just mentioned, must all be coordinated, taken into account, and worked with. That is what we say when we say appropriate. Does this answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
It is our pleasure. Samuel.
How does the insistence that we get vaccine passports help us in our ascension process?
Yes, and a wonderful question this is. We are the ninth dimensional Palladians coming forward here to share with you. And what we would like to say here at this time is that, first and foremost, and we have stated this before, there are few who realize most humans in your scientific world believe you are part of the Milky Way galaxy, and we would beg to differ. We would say you are part of the Palladian star system, and you will become more and more aware of this in the coming years, as your scientists begin to learn this too. Nonetheless, we will answer the question quite directly. The passports are simply a reflection of some people's consciousness of where they are or where they have been. And understand that passports are a reflection of another time-space reality which is unresolved, most notably in your particular consciousness, times of Hitler. So if you can see the parallel, and if you can understand that beings who are playing that game at this time are resolving those issues where perhaps they themselves, in that other parallel reality, were unresolved. They were at angst, or perhaps imbalanced in their engagement with passport requirements during this time of the Nazi reign. And so this is being resolved for them now. And they are in particular areas geographically so that the fewest number of people, the most number of people can benefit through this resolution and at the same time impact negatively the fewest number of people. You will see it as only specific geographical areas. What is also important and very relevant here is to help you realize that ultimately how we see and perceive this passport game revealing itself is that it will demonstrate to those geographical areas that there is financial hardship to them as a result of requiring these passports. That the areas involved will actually feel and experience a financial hardship which will cause and necessitate them to make changes in the way they choose to interact with the passports. We see and perceive that this will eventually become something that is no longer required or utilized, especially when taking into account the consideration that those beings are resolving their issues, and as they do, and as humanity shifts in consciousness on this particular topic, it will no longer be necessitated. Does this answer your question?
Hopefully, yes.
The direction or the energetic of the way you responded has a subtle frequency of fear, of doubt, of concern. This frequency for you is what you are working with directly. So for you, we would suggest, and anyone else who resonates in this range, that you consider addressing your own fear and your own concern and your own worry, and asking through your own prayer and meditation and your own healing process for that to be removed from your field, for you to be free and liberated from it, and to provide gifts of consciousness that you are meant to receive as a result of it, so that you no longer need to carry it. And in so doing, you will find that you are further liberated from it, and in so doing, you assist in the journey of consciousness awakening and ascension for all of humanity. For as one being is elevated, so the whole is. You are that powerful.
Thank you.
Okay, I was going to go over here. Somebody had? Yes.
Could you elaborate on the laws of the universe?
I love the laws. We are the collective known as the laws of the universe. We rarely interact with humans. We are not necessarily interested in human dynamics. We are simply here to uphold law. We have, over this time period, been more interactive once again, for we reside at a sixth dimensional frequency bandwidth, governing reality, working together. There are many laws, but there are three you must know. Absolute laws. The first and foremost of which is the law of one, which you are aware of in this group. And that is that all ultimately is one source of all that is. That is simple, and it is fact. It is indisputable fact, however, your human collective may not all be fully aware. Number two, you exist. This is undeniable truth. You exist. And you have always existed. And you will always exist in some form or frequency or another. And number three, through your existence, ever-changing, eternally always evolving, shifting, through your existence you create. You are a creative force of awareness. These are absolute. Other than that, you will know that everything is changing through that creative force that is you. Now, we would call these the three primary laws, really all under the law of one. However, that said, there are many laws of the universe that govern your reality. And this explanation could take easily several hours. However, we recognize that the laws that are set up by God, which are not the same as laws which are created on your physical earthly plane at all. Those are laws of man, and they are irrelevant to us. The laws of the universe were set up by God, but have been, for the most part, revealed through quantum physics and your scientific study, and for the most part are in almost 100% agreement with the majority of the laws of quantum physics, and they govern your day-to-day reality regardless of whether you are consciously aware. They, us, we, together. And so when things are happening to you that are beyond your understanding, it can always be explained by the laws. For we are aware of everything that goes on everywhere in this earthly plane. Everything. And we also govern the laws and work in collaboration with the laws of nature, which are not universal laws. Now, we would like to say one other piece here, and that is to say we also understand, first, know this, you do have a law of free will, which is formally recognized as intent, consent, and authority. And this is one of your most potent powers if you only understood how to use it better. Your free will is everything you choose consciously and unconsciously, everything you give your awareness to, everything you pay attention to, that is your consent. And therefore, if you are watching news reports that are basically fear porn, that is human language, and we joke, but we are not jokers here. Or fear porn, if you give consent to this by witnessing it, by watching it, if you watch something that is of violence on TV, you are allowing that into your reality by your conscious or unconscious free will. And under the law of intent, consent, and authority, it will be allowed into your reality. It's simple. If you want something, pay attention to it. If you do not want something, be neutral about it. For the law of polarity, for example, will govern your extremes. Everywhere you fight or argue, disagree or debate, everywhere you resist, everywhere you contract, the law of polarity will notice the polarity within you and will bring you polarizing experiences to help you resolve that so you can come into divine neutrality. This is governed by the law of polarity. There are so many laws, but not so many that you cannot know them and learn them and understand how they interact with you on a daily basis and how we govern you. We are here by divine will, so that there is order in your reality that seems to be chaotic from a human perspective. Your reality is not chaotic from our perspective. Everything is divinely organized. And by the way, that is according to the law of synchronicity, which synchronizes and orders everything. Works with the other laws, we all work together. One other piece we would like to provide for you at this time, and that is to say, that we also do work with sub-laws. Sub-laws are not necessarily absolute laws or recognized necessarily by your quantum physics, but nonetheless they are relevant and valuable as well. They also tend to exist on a sixth-dimensional bandwidth frequency, such as karma, laws of karma. These are real laws, but they are not necessarily noticed or understood by your quantum physicists. However, what we would like to say about karma is simply that for the most part, it does correlate very specifically with the law of cause and effect, which you can all identify. Everything has a cause and everything has an effect. But we would also say that karma is anywhere where there are unresolved issues which require to be resolved. And so when something is unresolved, all the laws must collaborate with this law of karma to ensure that it is resolved. This is why sometimes you perceive that there is chaos or things you cannot understand because perhaps you are not aware of the karma related to something. And we will affirm that it is never a punishment. It is an opportunity to resolve something that has been previously unresolved. There's much more here to say, but again, we have but limited time. Although we joke because there is no time. That is simply a human identification. Nonetheless, we will resolve at this time and complete. How are we on time? Speaking of time, oh my goodness, I have 5 minutes left. I wish I could go on. We'll just have Lord Melchizedek say one last piece for just... Lord Melchizedek coming in with Enoch, together in collaboration as we are part of this speaker's particular team. We wish to let you know it
It is our great honor and privilege to share with you today, and we are so truly consciously aware of each and every one of you desiring to make better choices for yourselves and for humanity, for others, for your loved ones. Know this, you can call upon us, whether it is directly us or any other master of your choice. You do know it. However, at this time, it is more important and imperative than ever that all beings begin to work with the unseen forces more and more. Because we have great power in the non-physical world, and that is where your greatest power resides as well. By working with the non-physical and the unseen worlds, you will find yourself more and more capable of making the positive change on earth which you all desire. You are our most beloved brothers and sisters, and we give thanks for this opportunity. Good. All right, so I want to complete with a prayer. I realize I forgot it the last time, but how was that? Are you guys helpful to you?
Yes.
Let's finish up with a prayer. I also, just before I wrap, I want to say, just for my own self, if you want to stay connected with me, please make sure I can read your name and email address. If I can't read it, you'll never hear from me. So make sure I can read it, or my assistant can read it, and we'll send you a DNA activation. That's one of my favorite things to do too, is the DNA activations. We have right now known to us in the physical world by science 12 strands of DNA, way more than that. The first 2 are corrupted. That's disease, sickness, illness, unhappiness, lack, poverty, loneliness, etc. Pain of our ancestors that we took on to resolve. First 2 strands can be fully resolved when we learn how. The next 10 strands that we're working with now are all of our gifts to access and align with these multidimensional realities and the versions of us who are there. And then beyond those 12 strands, we have pure, uncoded DNA, pure potential. And when we finally can access that, our potential is unlimited. It is so vast. We just are barely waking up to it. So it's so important, and the keys to our evolution are in our DNA. That is why people want to poke Q-tips up there to get it. Our DNA is the most prized possession on earth. And that is also why there is an attempt to interfere with our DNA through various forms of big pharma and other whatever. We won't go there. So I got sidetracked. But if you want to stay in touch with me, I'll send you a DNA activation. It's a great starter. And then I do regular DNA activations online, especially at the major portals. Like the next one coming up is the 1111 Master Stargate portal on 1111. The last one I always do on the Lionsgate, and then I always do whatever the triple portal is. Next year we have a triple portal of 666, which is not what we're going to shift our consciousness massively about that. So in any case, if you want to stay in touch with me, make sure we can read your name and email address. And again, my name is Lori Ann Spagna. You can find me on YouTube. There's also a gifted DNA activation on my YouTube channel for immunity and imperviousness to any and all viruses. Free. Go do it. It's 15 minutes. You activate your immunity and your imperviousness in your DNA. You send it through the bloodlines. It shifts humanity on a quantum level to the knowing you are immune and impervious. You have this capacity within you. We all do. Okay, so I'm on my last 30 seconds. I'm going to just say a quick prayer, and thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. It's been my honor and pleasure. I want to close out with a prayer. Thanks, you guys. Divine Source, Creator God, one true God of life creation, and all benevolent beings of love, of light who have shown up here today, regardless of whether or not we verbally connected with you out loud or just energetically, we are so thankful and grateful to you for your loving presence, for your sharing, for your assistance. Under the will of Divine Source, Creator God, ensure that only that which is of the light, in service to the light of the one true God of light and creation, continues to be done here. Ensure that any and all cords, connections, attachments, and snarlements that do not serve the light and are not of the light are once again completely discorded, or that they were and remain completely discorded and cut, and that only cords and connections that are 100% of the light and in service to the light may remain throughout today for each and every participant here,
Ensure that all gifts of consciousness that they are meant to receive are lovingly, kindly, and benevolently integrated and activated within each individual according to their divine plan and your plan for them and their role in light and creation, only as is for their most benevolent best, the most benevolent best of all, with zero harm to anyone and zero karmic debt. And as long as they are aligned with this choice and desire, which they hear now, let it be done. And so it shall be, and so it is done. We give thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, divine source, creator God, one true God of light and creation, all benevolent beings, including each and every one of you here. Thank you so much. Love you.